If you're looking for some really pretty homemade fabric decorations for your Christmas tree, look no further than these really lovely folded fabric stars. If you've been following me the last couple of weeks, you can also check out the description below for folded fabric Christmas trees and fabric bells. Go check those videos out to make those, but in this video I'm going to give you the full tutorial to make these fabric stars. If you're a beginner, they're great. If you're well practiced at sewing, you can check loads of these out and they're great to do it with the kids as well. So let's get stitching. I am Kim, this is Quilt with Kim. Let's go make some stars. To make your fabric stars, you are going to need some fabric, obviously. Now, a dark and a light fabric work really well together. It really shows off that star shape in the middle. You can use Christmassy fabric like I have here with my red fabric with the green holly leaves, or you can use whatever fabric you have got around. So you need large scraps or about a fat quarter of each. To determine the amount of fabric you need, the next thing we need is a plate. So your plate is about 9 inches across. So as long as you've got fabric that is bigger than your plate, you're good to go. So as I said, this plate is 9 inches across or 22 centimeters. So you need a good size plate. I wouldn't go too small because it gets a bit fiddly, but start with this one and then you can have a practice and see where you go. You need a pair of scissors, obviously. You need a pencil or a fabric marker. You need some hand sewing needles, you need some coordinating fabric, and you need a button to go in the middle. You can have plain or sparkly or whatever bling that you'd like to pop in the middle. So that's what you need. So let's get on to the first section of what you need to do first to make your fabric stars. First up, we are going to cut out the circles that we need. So this is where your plate comes in. If you've been following my other tutorials on fabric Christmas trees and fabric very tinkly bells, this is the same process. If you haven't watched those, I will put a link to those videos in the description below. But what you need to do is get your plate, put on the wrong side of your fabric. Make sure that you have given your fabric a good press first. And you're going to draw round your plate and cut it out very carefully with your scissors. So what you need is one circle from each. So you'll end up in true Blue Peter style, which probably only the people in the UK would get that. It's a children's programme. But you would end up with a circle out of each of your fabrics. Okay, so if you get on and do that, and then we'll go stitch them together. With our two circles, we are going to put them right sides together. So put those like that and match up those edges nice and carefully. And then we're going to stitch all the way round about 1/4 inch. So let's move over to the machine and do that. So just before we get stitching, what I've done is I've pinned my two circles together, and just like we did with the Christmas trees and the bells, if you've been watching those, then I've put a little pin horizontally or parallel to the edge, just to remind me that I need to leave a gap of about 2 inches when I go round. So we're going to go round the edge about 1/4 inch away, and we're going to start with a lock stitch. So let's get going on this one. So carefully around the edge. If your edges don't line up exactly like these don't here, don't worry too much, that it's quite forgiving when we turn this through. But we want to keep a nice even stitch line all the way around the edge. So let's get on and do that then. Okay, and as we're coming up to our parallel pin, we want to stop, as I said, about 2 inches away from where we started and finish with a lock stitch. So that will be about there. Okay, so let's take this out from underneath the machine, I should say. Okay, so we've stitched these together. Let's get rid of any loose threads. And we're going to take the pins out. And then we're going to turn this through your gap and really push out those edges using your fingernail or the blunt edge of a pair of scissors. Whatever you have to hand. Okay. And we want to give that a good press all over and tuck these edges in whilst we're doing that. So this is my very natty temporary ironing board. At home it's probably easier to do it on your actual ironing board. Just in case you're wondering, there's a lot of insulated wadding between here. I haven't got a towel directly on my cutting mat. Cutting mats do not like heat, and they don't really recover from it either. Okay, so that's a good press. Let's do the other side. And then let's tuck these top edges in. We want to try and get the curve to continue if we can. I find it easier if I just tackle one side and then the other side. Okay, there's one side done. And then the other side. As much as you can, you want these two edges matching up because we need to stitch those together in a moment. Be careful of your fingers because this gets hot. Okay, I think that's ready to go. Now the next thing we're going to do is top stitch round the edge here. So I've just kept my red thread in my machine and I'm going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch all the way around the edge there. So let's do that together. We need to be able to stitch this gap closed as well. So I start with just ahead of the little gap here. So I'm stitching that closed first and I go all the way around. So let's go over to the machine and do that bit. Okay, to stitch 1/8 of an inch away, I've got my machine set up for 1/4 of an inch. And then what I do is I put the edge of my fabric where the perspex of the foot meets the metal section of my foot, and that's about 1/8 of an inch. It does not need to be exact, it's just closer to the edge because we need to stitch that gap closed. When I am top stitching, I don't do a proper lock stitch at the beginning and end. What I do is I go back over my initial stitch line. So let me show you. I don't start with a lock stitch, so I'm just getting going with my stitching. And we're going to stitch all the way around. Okay, and just as I'm coming up to where I started, let's get rid of any excess, all I'm going to do is stitch over this line carefully and then that'll lock it into place for you. So let's get going there. Just be careful that you line up your stitch line. Okay, so I've over stitched that first line by about 1 inch or so. And just do a couple of back stitches. Okay, so that is our top stitching done all the way around. So you don't need your machine anymore, so let's turn it into a star. First things first then, before we stitch your star into place, you need to make a decision about what fabric you want to make the star bit. So if I put this one here that I've made earlier, you need to decide whether you want, which fabric you want on these, the star petals, twinkles, rays of light, these bits here. You need to decide which way round you want it to go. Do you want, in my case, do I want the white here or the red here? So I'm actually going to do it the other way round. I am going to have the red on this section here where I've got the green. So whatever you want to turn into your rays of light on your stars, you want that facing uppermost at the moment, okay? I promise it will all magically come together. So having done that, you need to get a needle threaded up, ready to go. So I've got a needle here, and you want really a double threaded up with a knot in the end. That will just give it a little bit of extra strength for you. So have that on the go. You want to fold your circle in half and just put a little crease at either side, and I would just do the same the other side. So match up those two creases you've just made. So we've got our quarters marked out on our fabric here. That just makes your life a little bit easier. Okay, so what we're going to do is pick one of those little creases you've just made, it doesn't matter which one, and I would slip in between the two pieces of fabric and just pull your thread through until the knot stops the thread. Okay, now you're going to bring the thread over until the other side, so the opposite crease that you've made just here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but there is a little crease just here on the opposite side. Can you see on the white there? Okay, so we're bringing the needle up, and the same thing through that crease, and you want it coming up through the middle, okay, to the edge. Okay, can you see that? And then what I'm going to do is pull that thread, so it looks a bit weird because you've got this thread coming right across, and you're pulling those two together. Okay, so it looks a bit weird at the moment. I promise this all comes together. So let's get those matched. Make sure that you've matched up the creases in the middle. And I'm just going to put a little stitch in there to help me for now. So let's put a couple of stitches across that. Okay, so having secured that half, which is looking a little bit like a tortilla at the moment, turn it away from you and then find one of those other little creases that you've made. So here's one of them just there. Okay. So you don't need to cut the thread, you're not taking it out or anything, so it's almost a continuation. So I'm pulling it through, can you see, from the middle out to the edge. So that's that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my needle underneath, so it's not going through any fabric, it's just so I can hide my thread through that gap in the middle. And then I'm going to find the opposite little fold on the other side and do the same thing there and pull that up. Okay, so you'll end up with something looking like that. So have a bit of a fiddle. We need to now match those two sides there. So you want to spend just a moment or two just making sure that everything's nice and even. Okay, across each side, and then we're going to put a couple of stitches across the middle there. I like these stars, they're so easy and quick to make, and once you've made one with instructions you'll be knocking plenty of them out. Okay, so let's get a little knot in there. Don't worry too much if your stitching is untidy, because you'll be hiding it all with a button. Okay, so let's put a knot in there and get rid of that. Okay, so next bit is the magic. So it doesn't look like anything at the moment, but what we want to do is make sure that my white in this instance, the sort of backing colour, we want to make sure this bit is in the middle, and just make sure that you've got a kind of square going with this background section. A little bit of prep here helps you in the next section. So we want to make sure that is in the middle and we've got a square shape. And then what we are doing is taking one little ear at a time and we are turning it over. Just like that. So you may want to just spend a couple of minutes or a few seconds just smartening it all up. That's looking good, don't you think? I love these. They're so easy to make. Great for kids as well. So if you're looking for something for to entertain the kids in the Christmas holidays, get them making a few of these. Right, so this bit in the middle, once you've fiddled about and you're quite happy with everything, the next bit is we need to sew our button in the middle there. So I've got a red button. You can have any button you like. So let me get my needle and thread back again, which is all caught up. Okay, so we get this all ready to go. And then all we're going to do is stitch this on. So I'm going to hide my knot in this center section here. And then get this button sewn on. This bit might be a little tricky for the kids to do because there's quite a lot of fabric to go through. So if you're with the kids, you might need to give them a bit of a help. It's surprisingly difficult to do under a camera as well. Just putting it out there because I can't quite see what I'm doing. Okay, so and we'll finish with a little knot on the back. Okay, so nearly there. So the button is on. So the final thing is to pop our hanging loop on. So let's have a chat about that. Finally then, which is a definite last but not least, we need to stick a hanging loop on there, otherwise you can't hang it from your Christmas tree. So for this I've got a tapestry needle threaded up with some stranded cotton. You don't need a knot at the end, but if you haven't got any stranded cotton or a tapestry needle, then just your normal sewing thread just doubled up, that'll do as well. So what we need to do is choose one of your ears, it really doesn't matter which one, and we're going to put the needle up between the back square and the fold just at the top there, and we're going to poke it through right at the top of the fold. So we're going to bring that all the way through, but leave a tail dangling at the back. Don't worry, that'll all disappear. And then we're simply going to bring your needle back just next to that initial hole, back through, sorry, I got myself caught up in the fold, back through the same fold at the back there. Make sure you don't pull it all the way through, okay, because we need our loop. Unthread our needle. I have a very bent tapestry needle here. All I use this for is for putting loops in things, so it is a bit bent. Then we're going to match up the ends. So let's just get all that straightened up. Stick a knot in it, like that. And then you can pull that through and your knot will disappear into the fold at the back. If you've got any bits sticking out, then just cut them off. Okay. I mean, that's quite a long loop, but it doesn't need to be that long. You can have as long or as short as you like, depending on where you want to hang them. So that is your hanging star. Don't they look great? Let me switch camera and have them dangling for you. And there we have it. You're a very pretty folded fabric stars with my extra long hanging loop that you can hang off your Christmas tree or anywhere you want to hang some Christmas decorations. They are really easy to make. have fun making them, and let me know how you get on. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.